Here are thoughts from the Lubavitcher Rebbe from over 35 years ago, and he bases it on principles that don't change. And in those principles that don't change is the key to making certain that in the current situation that good will have the dominion over the evil and that Israel should be successful. And one is not to show weakness and to understand that evil is exactly what it is and not to give it any rights or even to deal with it. And that when you deal with terrorists and they know that eventually they will be a bargaining tool that will be given back to their own people, they don't have to worry because they know that the Israelis will return the imprisoned terrorists. They will go back to Gaza. They will go back to whoever it is that they came from and continue their ways because ultimately there's no real consequence for their actions. Temporary incarceration, but for them, that's okay. Let's hear from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who spoke again over 35 years ago, speaking about the incidences that had happened previously in the land of Israel. Let's listen in.
Die zwei, was werden dort zugetan, weiß man nicht, der eigene Member drauf morgen in der Früh, bei der Nähe. Wie man weiß, dass von Kammer sie Purim, von Kammer in Jone. Was sie da gewähren, als sie das noch machen, ein Riech im Gordel, wird das Mechaper sein. Aber die Mörder, wie sie rufen das an, was man gemacht, Jahre, Kohl nicht zochen, was der Rebbe hat gegeben, den zwei Israel, Hagonel Israel, ist da noch gekommen, die Politiker. Und dann verkauft hat dem nicht zochen für ein Stück Papier.
So the point being over here is follows. God makes miracles for the IDF, for the Israeli Defense Force, winning a victory, but then the politicians come in. And the politicians, for political purposes, then they just want to have an agreement with the enemy. Let's have peace. But as was after the 6-Day War, right, that the Arab nations said no negotiation, no peace. There's nothing. We're not going to and no recognition of Israel. But we go around and we want to have peace, or at least let's write down, if you're not ready for peace, let's at least write down in some kind of agreement between us that we're going to negotiate. They don't want negotiation. They want from the river to the sea. That's what happened after the 6-Day War in 1967. That's what happened after the Yom Kippur War. It's happened all the time. They're not ready to negotiate. They're not ready for peace, and they're not ready for any recognition of Israel. So why deal with such individuals? Recognize that truth. This is what the Rebbe is telling us.
Aber dann auf dem Papier hat sich ausgebeten. Man soll ausschreiben dem Wort Scholle. Danach hat das Seichchen in die Gewalt noch geben. Hat sich ausgebeten, man soll ausschreiben. Am mit Masken, am mit Wässer treffen und mit Reden bei Kaller dicken Tisch. Danach hat das Seichchen gezeigt. Und ich schämt sich nicht. Sie geht dann weiter. Mehr wäre das ein Thema Glühe. Wer wird umkehren, hat die Zähnliche, die Chayon, was wird gehargen. Und haben Almonis und haben Jesemi. Wo sie gehen herum, lebendig in die Gassen. Und ich schämt sich nicht für sie. Und Masche hoje, mis mamschig mit derselben Schiete. Und mir juckt sich noch, aber soll Mastim sein, Chasm auf Papier, als mit Machen Scholle, hat nicht verloren die Tikva, das wird mich auf Epel. Wir soll Mastim sein, soll stehen auf dem Papier, aber mich sich treffen und mit welchen reden zusammen. Und man dort gehargert. Und man weiß die Namen, wer man gehargert. Und man weiß, wer es hat gehargert. Nicht gesprochen, welche Gruppe ist das gehargert. Kommen zu gehen, gewinnen.
So the Rebbe is saying over here a very important point. They killed Jews. We know who did it, or at least the group that did it. And now you want to sit down with them? And you want to negotiate with them? You don't negotiate with murderers. There's nothing to talk to. And what you want, you gave up on peace because you know that they don't want peace, but at least let's talk. No, by talking with murderers, you show a weak hand. You show the weakness that you are ready to give in. How true, and that's what's happening today. We showed our weakness, and therefore we gave in, and we're giving away murderers, terrorists, monsters that will wreak havoc, as was in the past. Let's continue the conversation. Now he's speaking about philanthropists that, how the politicians explain to them.
Von Artisabrief müssen sich sehr etwas ändern. Wir sind gefahren nach dem Zoo, wo sie da am Zoo, das hat alles für ihn. Gehört einmal am Zoo, und gehört doch man nicht klar. Was ihr Neffe schachen, sie sich hat er übermord. Allah es kam, was letztes wegen Zähnlich in der Faschis. Allah es kam, was letztes wegen Zähnlich in der Faschis. Von Anschizowo, wo das im Machlich, den Pachet, was nicht die haben, die Araber haben, verzogen Israel. Mit was kommen Aufschrecken am Chabad, nicht mit Schaß, mit Chabtem, und danach ist mir nicht meinisch. Weil mir was steht der Reinisch, mir setzt ihn mal rein in die Füße, und mir geht ihm.
Wow, what's the Rebbe saying here? How can you deter a terrorist? It's not because you captured him and you now put him into prison. Because on the contrary, he's going to live a better life than he did even in his village before. He's going to get better fed and better clothing. So that's not. And then what? He knows that eventually he's going to get out because you're going to trade him in some kind of deal. And that's why they take hostages, because then they can trade. As exactly what happened with Gilad Shalit, one soldier for over 1,000 terrorists. And one of them was Sinwar over a dozen years ago. And as a result, we have October 7th. So they know that we will give them up eventually. So then what is the deterrent for them to be again a terrorist? So they'll again be placed in prison? Well, October the 8th and onwards, Israel has captured and recaptured many a prisoner who they've had in the past in Israeli prisons. It didn't stop them. Nothing will stop them. If we show weakness. Let's continue the Rebbe's conversation.
Alle Sachen, min hamuchen, essen und trinken und Nadile, bekula, hat es besser, wie Beschasser Walgezer bei sich in Dorf. Und dann noch geht durch eine kurze Weile, bat man ein Mieber, 100 Mechablim, ab 3 oder 4 oder 5. Und sie wissen, dass wir hat viele, weil es nicht dem nächsten Mal. Sie geworden mit dem Gesiedler.
First of all, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who is no longer physically with us, but his spirit is very much with us, who is my mentor, my teacher, my Rebbe, and the Rebbe of thousands, tens of thousands of people around the world, Jews and actually non-Jews, who look at him as a mentor, as a teacher. And as a matter of fact, he has more followers today after his passing than he had in his lifetime, because he is a man of truth, a man who stands straight with a moral compass that never, never budges from the correct direction, standing upright with God Almighty and fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs the way it's dictated in Torah teachings, has the courage to say the truth when other Jewish leaders and rabbis, and even rabbis, don't have the courage. As in now in the government, there are rabbinic authorities that have stayed in the government and not opposing, not saying a word about this deal, seeing that it is very short-sighted and could wreak much greater havoc in the end, giving up 2,000 to 3,000 terrorists, which will just rebuild Hamas, give them strength, show to them and show the world that we have not reached our objectives of destroying Hamas, replacing the governance with a proper governance of the people in Gaza. And in the end, after 42 days, we're only going to get back 33 hostages, a third of the hostages that we must get back. This is painful. It is bitter. Yes, there's sweetness here. The fact that some hostages are coming back now and more will come back, that is sweet, no doubt about it. But our prayers are needed that the bitter part of it should not have any negative effect on any lives henceforth, and that we complete the job of destroying the enemy not just of Israel, the enemy of all good people around the world.